You're lying in your comfortable bed, feeling the soft embrace of your blankets in the cool, quiet darkness. The gentle shadows of evening surround you as your breathing naturally slows, your eyelids growing heavy with the peaceful weight of approaching sleep. As consciousness slips away, you're transported across vast oceans of time, drifting past decades of genetic experimentation and scientific ambition, until you find yourself in an entirely different world, in an entirely different body. A body born not from millions of years of natural evolution, but from the desperate creativity of minds that dared to reshape life itself. The first sensation that reaches your awakening consciousness is the hum of artificial lighting filtering through reinforced glass. You're surrounded by the sterile ambience of a research facility, though one that has been abandoned for many years. The air carries the metallic tang of old machinery, mixed with the damp, organic scent of tropical vegetation that has begun to reclaim the structure. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the gentle drip of water echoing through empty corridors, and the soft rustle of leaves as vines push through cracks in the concrete walls. The light is dim and filtered, suggesting it's early morning. Shafts of golden sunlight pierce through gaps where the facility's roof has partially collapsed, creating dancing patterns on the debris-strewn floor. The temperature is warm and humid, characteristic of the equatorial island where you now find yourself, Île Saint-Hubert, a forgotten outpost in the Atlantic, where humanity's most ambitious and dangerous genetic experiments once took place. As awareness fully returns to your being, you begin to understand the profound changes in your physical form. You're massive, far larger than any natural creature should be. When you attempt to shift your weight, you feel the incredible bulk of your body, easily weighing several tons. Your breathing is deep and powerful, each inhalation moving massive amounts of air through a respiratory system designed for an enormous predator. The first movement you make is with what you expect to be your arms, but instead, you feel 4 distinct limbs responding to your mental commands. 2 massive, pillar-like appendages extend from your shoulders, arms far more powerful and developed than any tyrannosaur that ever lived. These arms end in clawed hands, capable of grasping with devastating strength. Between these larger arms and your body, you sense 2 smaller appendages, more familiar in their proportions to a traditional tyrannosaur's arms, but elongated and more flexible than nature ever intended. Behind you stretches a tail of impressive length and weight, thick with muscle and perfectly designed to counterbalance your enormous bulk. When you consciously move it, debris shifts and scrapes across the concrete floor with surprising loudness in the quiet facility. Your head feels massive and strangely proportioned. The skull is enlarged beyond normal tyrannosaur dimensions, with a bulbous forehead that gives you an almost aquatic appearance. Your jaw, when you test its movement, reveals rows of sharp teeth, not as long as a natural T-Rex's fangs, but numerous and deadly efficient. Most unsettling is your vision, which seems limited and unclear. Your eyes are small for your size, and the world appears somewhat dim and blurry, forcing you to rely more heavily on your other enhanced senses. As you begin the process of rising from your resting position, you discover the unique way your body moves. Unlike the bipedal stance of your tyrannosaur ancestors, you support yourself on all 6 limbs. Your powerful hind legs provide the primary propulsion, while your massive front arms serve as additional support, creating a quadrupedal gait that feels surprisingly natural despite its unusual configuration. The movement is reminiscent of a giant ape or bear, with a distinctive hunched posture that speaks to the pain and awkwardness built into your very existence. Each step sends vibrations through the facility floor, and you can feel the tremendous power coiled in your muscles. Your body is perfectly designed for destruction, yet there's something profoundly wrong about your form, a sense that you were never meant to exist, that your creation was an accident of ambition rather than the product of natural selection. Standing fully upright on your 6 limbs, you tower over the abandoned laboratory equipment scattered around you. Broken monitors and twisted metal fixtures lie everywhere, testimony to previous encounters between your kind and the scientists who once worked here. The ceiling stretches high above, but even so, your enlarged head nearly touches the structural beams. Your first conscious act is to test your senses in this strange environment. Your sense of smell, while not as refined as a natural predator's, is still formidable. You can detect the lingering traces of human presence, old sweat, fear, and the various chemicals they used in their experiments. There's also the rich scent of organic decay as nature slowly reclaims the abandoned facility, and underneath it all, the distinctive odors of other creatures that now share this island home. Your hearing picks up subtle sounds throughout the facility. Somewhere in the distance you hear the gentle splash of water and the calls of various creatures that have made their homes in the ruins. These sounds create a constant background symphony that speaks to the vibrant ecosystem that has evolved in humanity's absence. As you begin to explore your immediate surroundings, your massive form moves with surprising stealth. Despite your enormous size, years of living in this environment have taught you how to minimize noise when necessary. Your padded feet find secure purchase on the debris-covered floor, and your movements are deliberate and controlled. The laboratory where you've awakened shows clear signs of your long habitation. Deep claw marks score the walls where you've sharpened your talons, and areas of the floor are worn smooth by your repeated passage. This has been your domain for years, a place where you've found shelter and security in a world that never intended to create something like you. Moving toward what was once a large observation window, you peer out into the broader facility complex. The glass is long since shattered, allowing the warm tropical air to flow freely through the structure. Beyond the laboratory, you can see corridors stretching in multiple directions, many of them partially collapsed or overgrown with vegetation. Sunlight streams through gaps in the ceiling, creating a patchwork of light and shadow that gives the ruins an almost cathedral-like quality. The facility was clearly enormous when it was operational, with multiple levels and countless research chambers. Now it serves as a maze-like home for various creatures, both the products of genetic experimentation and natural animals that have colonized the abandoned structures. You know every passage and chamber intimately, having explored and claimed this territory over many years of solitary existence. Your stomach rumbles with the deep, resonant hunger that drives much of your daily existence. The sound echoes through the empty chambers, a reminder that your massive body requires substantial amounts of food to maintain its size and strength. This hunger is different from what a natural predator might feel. It's tinged with the constant discomfort that comes from your malformed physiology, making you perpetually irritable and aggressive. As you begin to move through the facility in search of sustenance, your heavy footsteps echo through the corridors. Each step is carefully placed, not out of concern for stealth, but because your unusual body proportions require constant attention to balance and coordination. The pain in your joints and muscles is ever present, a constant reminder of the genetic mistakes that created you. The corridors are filled with debris from decades of abandonment. Collapsed ceiling tiles, twisted metal fixtures, and broken glass create an obstacle course that you navigate with practiced ease. Vines and other tropical plants have found their way inside through cracks and gaps, creating hanging curtains of green that brush against your hide as you pass. Your first destination is one of the facility's former cafeterias, where you've learned that smaller creatures often gather to feed on the organic matter that accumulates in the corners and crevices. Your enhanced intelligence, a product of your hybrid nature, has taught you to think strategically about hunting rather than simply relying on brute force. As you approach the cafeteria, your limited vision is supplemented by your other senses. You can smell the musky odor of small mammals that have taken up residence in the ruins, and your hearing picks up the subtle sounds of their movement. These creatures, likely descendants of the facility's original pest population, have thrived in the abandoned environment, providing a reliable source of food for larger predators like yourself. The entrance to the cafeteria requires you to squeeze through a partially collapsed doorway. Your massive shoulders scrape against the twisted metal frame as you force your way through, leaving fresh gouges in the already damaged structure. The sound of grinding metal fills the air, but you're unconcerned about the noise. There are no humans left to be alerted by your passage. Inside the cafeteria, the scene is one of complete devastation, mixed with new life. Tables and chairs lie scattered and broken, many of them crushed by your previous visits. The kitchen area has been completely destroyed, with massive holes torn in the walls, where you've pursued prey in the past. Yet life has found a way to flourish here. Plants grow in profusion wherever sunlight reaches, and small creatures have built nests in the protection of the ruins. Your presence immediately sends the smaller inhabitants scurrying for cover. Rats and mice disappear into cracks in the walls, while various tropical birds that have colonized the upper reaches of the room take flight with alarmed calls. But you're patient, having learned that rushing often results in empty-handed hunts. Moving slowly and deliberately, you position yourself near one of the major exit routes used by the rodents. Your massive form settles into a surprisingly motionless crouch, demonstrating a patience that belies your fearsome appearance. This behavior is one of the more unsettling aspects of your hybrid intelligence, the ability to plan and wait rather than simply charging at your prey. The wait is not long. Within minutes, a large rat emerges from its hiding place, apparently convinced that the immediate danger has passed. Your strike is lightning fast and brutally efficient. One of your smaller arms snatches the creature before it can react, and your powerful jaws make short work of your first meal of the day. The taste is familiar and satisfying, though not particularly filling given your enormous size. You'll need to catch many such creatures to satisfy your hunger, or find larger prey elsewhere on the island. As you consume your catch, you're already planning your next move, your hybrid intelligence constantly working to optimize your hunting strategies. The act of feeding brings a temporary respite from the constant discomfort of your existence. The nutrition flowing into your system helps ease some of the chronic pain caused by your malformed anatomy, though it never disappears entirely. This pain is an integral part of what you are, a reminder of the genetic crimes that brought you into being. After finishing your small meal, you continue your hunt through the cafeteria. Your massive claws prove useful for tearing open cabinets and storage areas where creatures might be hiding. The destruction you cause is considerable, but meaningless in a facility that has been abandoned for decades. Each cabinet you destroy adds to the growing pile of debris that marks your passage through the ruins. Your hunting strategy involves creating as much chaos as possible to flush out hidden prey. You deliberately knock over furniture and tear apart anything that might serve as a hiding place. The noise you generate echoes throughout the facility, and you know that other creatures will be alerted to your presence. But this doesn't concern you. You are the apex predator of this island, and nothing here poses a serious threat to your dominance. As you work your way through the cafeteria, you manage to catch several more rodents and even a small tropical bird that was too slow to escape your grasp. Each catch is consumed immediately, and gradually your gnawing hunger begins to subside. However, you know from experience that you'll need more substantial prey to truly satisfy your massive metabolic needs. Leaving the devastated cafeteria behind, you begin moving toward the facility's exit points. Your mental map of the complex is detailed and accurate, the product of years spent exploring every passage and chamber. You know where each corridor leads, which areas are prone to collapse, and where the most promising hunting grounds can be found. The main exit you choose leads to a loading dock that once served to bring supplies into the facility. The massive doors have long since been torn away, leaving a gaping opening that frames a view of the lush tropical landscape beyond. As you emerge from the artificial environment of the laboratory into the natural world of the island, the contrast is striking. The air outside is thick with humidity and alive with the sounds of countless creatures. Birds call from the canopy of massive trees that have grown up around the facility, while insects create a constant background chorus. The scent of blooming flowers and decomposing vegetation fills your nostrils, mixed with the saltiness of the ocean that surrounds the island. The facility sits in a large clearing that has been carved out of the jungle, though nature is rapidly reclaiming the space. Vines climb the exterior walls of the buildings, and young trees have taken root in cracks in the concrete. In a few more decades, the entire complex will likely be swallowed by the rainforest, leaving no trace of humanity's ambitious experiments. Your first few steps onto the natural ground feel different from the hard surfaces of the facility interior. The earth is soft and yielding, covered with a thick layer of decomposed leaves and organic matter. Your massive weight leaves deep impressions in the soil, creating a clear trail that marks your passage through the environment. The morning sun is now fully up, filtering through the thick canopy to create a dappled pattern of light and shadow on the forest floor. The temperature is already quite warm, and you can feel your massive body beginning to heat up. Temperature regulation is always a challenge for a creature of your size, especially one with the metabolic inefficiencies built into your hybrid nature. Moving away from the facility, you enter the edge of the true jungle that covers most of the island. Here, the vegetation is so thick that moving in a straight line becomes impossible. Massive trees with trunks wider than your body block potential paths, while dense undergrowth creates barriers that even your strength cannot easily overcome. Your solution is to follow the network of trails that you and other large creatures have created over the years. These paths wind through the jungle in seemingly random patterns, but they connect all the major features of the island: water sources, feeding areas, sheltered resting spots, and territorial boundaries. As you move through the jungle, your presence creates a noticeable disturbance in the local ecosystem. Smaller creatures flee from your path, while birds take flight from the trees above, calling out warnings to their fellows. The sound of your passage, the heavy thud of your footsteps, the crack of breaking branches, and the rustle of displaced vegetation announces your approach to everything within a considerable radius. Despite your poor eyesight, your other senses paint a detailed picture of the jungle environment. Your nose picks up the complex mixture of scents that characterize a tropical rainforest: the sweetness of flowering plants, the earthiness of decomposing matter, the sharpness of fresh water, and the distinctive odors of various animals. Your ears detect sounds from creatures both near and far, creating a three-dimensional map of life around you. The trail you're following leads toward one of the island's freshwater streams, a vital resource that draws many creatures throughout the day. Your morning hunt has been successful, but not sufficient, and you know that the stream represents your best chance of finding larger prey to satisfy your substantial appetite. As you walk, you become aware of your reflection in the occasional puddle of standing water. The image that looks back at you is disturbing even to your own perception, a creature that clearly doesn't belong in the natural world. Your enlarged head with its bulbous forehead, your 6 mismatched limbs, and your generally malformed appearance mark you as something fundamentally wrong, a genetic accident that somehow achieved life. This self-awareness is perhaps the cruelest aspect of your existence. Your hybrid intelligence is sufficient to understand that you are an aberration, a failed experiment that was never meant to survive. The scientists who created you intended something different, something that could be controlled and displayed. Instead, they produced a creature capable of recognizing its own monstrosity. The emotional weight of this realization settles over you like a familiar shadow. It's a burden you carry constantly, adding psychological pain to the physical discomfort that never leaves your massive frame. Yet this same intelligence also provides you with advantages that natural predators lack. The ability to plan, to remember, to adapt your strategies based on past experiences. Your journey toward the stream takes you through several distinct micro-environments within the larger jungle ecosystem. You pass through areas where the canopy is so thick that almost no light reaches the ground, creating an environment dominated by ferns and other shade-loving plants. In other areas, gaps in the canopy allow more light to penetrate, supporting a different community of plants and animals. Each environment requires slight adjustments to your movement and hunting strategy. In the darker areas, you rely more heavily on your senses of smell and hearing, while in the brighter spots, you take advantage of your limited vision to scan for potential prey. Your hybrid nature has equipped you with sensory capabilities that, while not optimal, are sufficient for survival in this diverse environment. The sound of flowing water begins to reach your ears long before you arrive at the stream itself. The gentle babble of water over rocks is one of the more peaceful sounds in your violent world, and it often draws you to linger near these water sources, even when you're not particularly thirsty. There's something about the constant rhythmic sound that seems to ease some of the chronic pain that plagues your existence. As you approach the stream, you slow your pace and increase your alertness. Water sources are natural gathering places for the island's various inhabitants, and you've learned that patience often yields better hunting results than aggressive pursuit. Your strategy is to position yourself where you can observe the stream while remaining concealed, then wait for prey to come to you. The stream itself is a beautiful feature of the island landscape. Perhaps 20 feet wide and several feet deep, it flows clear and cool from the mountainous interior toward the ocean. The banks are lined with smooth stones and fallen logs, creating natural drinking spots for various creatures. Overhanging branches provide shade and cover, while aquatic plants add their own beauty to the scene. You settle into position behind a massive fallen tree trunk, your dark hide helping you blend with the shadows. From this vantage point, you can observe a substantial stretch of the stream while remaining largely hidden from potential prey. Your breathing slows and becomes shallower, minimizing any sounds that might alert approaching animals to your presence. The wait is not long. Within 30 minutes, a small group of creatures emerges from the jungle to drink at the stream. These are some of the other residents of the island, descendants of animals that were brought here for the original experiments, or creatures that arrived naturally over the years. They're cautious, as all prey animals must be in an environment dominated by predators like yourself. Your first instinct is to attack immediately, but your hybrid intelligence counsels patience. Better to wait and see what else might appear, possibly including larger and more satisfying prey. The small animals at the stream continue to drink nervously, constantly looking around for signs of danger. Your patience is rewarded when a larger creature appears at the edge of the clearing. One of the failed genetic experiments like yourself, though less dramatically altered. This creature resembles a large reptile, but with features that clearly mark it as another product of genetic manipulation. It moves with obvious difficulty, its own malformed anatomy creating challenges similar to your own. This represents a significant hunting opportunity. The creature is large enough to provide a substantial meal, and its obvious physical limitations suggest that it won't be able to escape your attack. However, you also recognize a kindred spirit, another victim of the same scientific hubris that created you. The ethical complexity of this situation is beyond your understanding, but you do feel a strange reluctance to attack this fellow experiment. Perhaps it's recognition of shared suffering, or maybe just an instinctive understanding that creatures like yourselves are rare and precious in their own twisted way. Whatever the reason, you find yourself hesitating when normally you would have already attacked. The moment of hesitation passes, and hunger reasserts itself as the dominant drive. You are, after all, a predator, first and foremost, and survival requires that you prioritize your own needs over philosophical considerations. Your attack, when it comes, is swift and decisive. You explode from concealment with surprising speed for such a massive creature. Your 6 limbs provide excellent traction and propulsion, allowing you to cover the distance to your target in seconds. The other creature, caught off guard while drinking, has no chance to escape or defend itself effectively. Your strike is precise and efficient. Your powerful jaws close around the creature's neck, while your forearms work to control its struggling body. The kill is quick, minimizing suffering for both of you. As you begin to feed, you feel the familiar mix of satisfaction and sadness that accompanies such moments. Relief from hunger, combined with regret for the necessity of destroying another damaged creation. The meat is unlike anything found in nature, carrying the distinctive taste of genetic modification. It's nourishing, but somehow unsatisfying, as if your body recognizes that this isn't truly natural food. Still, it provides the energy you need to continue existing in this strange world you've inherited. As you eat, other creatures that had been approaching the stream retreat to safe distances. Your feeding sends ripples of alarm through the local ecosystem, reminding everything within sensory range that an apex predator is active in the area. The birds in the trees above call out warnings, while smaller animals on the ground freeze in place or flee to their hiding spots. The act of feeding is messy and violent, as is natural for a predator of your size and design. Blood stains the clear water of the stream, and the sounds of tearing flesh echo through the peaceful jungle setting. This is the reality of your existence. Moments of terrible violence punctuating longer periods of relative calm. When you've consumed as much as you can immediately digest, you drag the remaining carcass away from the stream. Your intention is to cache it in a secure location where you can return for additional meals over the next day or two. This behavior demonstrates the planning ability that sets you apart from purely instinct-driven predators. The caching site you choose is a small cave formed by an overhang of rock near the base of a cliff. The location is defensible, hidden from casual observation, and cool enough to slow decomposition of stored meat. You've used this spot many times before, and the bones scattered around the entrance testify to its long history as your larder. After securing your food stores, you feel a temporary sense of satisfaction and security. Your immediate hunger has been addressed, and you've ensured that future meals will be available when needed. This forward-thinking behavior is one of the more remarkable aspects of your hybrid nature, the ability to plan beyond immediate needs. The middle of the day brings increasing heat as the tropical sun climbs toward its zenith. Your massive body, already generating significant internal heat through metabolism, begins to overheat in the humid jungle environment. Finding adequate cooling becomes a priority that will dominate much of your afternoon activity. Your solution is to seek out one of the deeper pools along the stream system, where you can partially submerge your overheated body. The water provides immediate relief from the oppressive heat, and the sensation of cool liquid flowing over your hide is one of the few unambiguous pleasures available to you. Lowering yourself into the pool requires careful coordination of your 6 limbs to avoid slipping on the smooth rocks of the stream bed. Your weight displaces a considerable volume of water, causing the level to rise significantly. Small fish and aquatic creatures flee from your massive presence, creating ripples and disturbances across the previously calm surface. Once settled in the water, you allow yourself to relax for the first time since awakening. The buoyancy provided by the water helps relieve some of the constant pressure on your malformed joints, while the cool temperature brings down your dangerously elevated body heat. Your breathing slows and deepens as you enter something approaching a meditative state. From your position in the pool, you can observe a wide area of the surrounding jungle. Your limited eyesight is somewhat compensated by your elevated position, allowing you to spot movement that might otherwise escape your notice. More importantly, the water carries sound particularly well, giving you excellent awareness of activity throughout the local area. The hours pass peacefully as you soak in the cooling water. Occasionally, other creatures approach the stream to drink, but your obvious presence keeps them at a respectful distance. You represent such a significant threat that most animals will endure considerable thirst rather than risk coming within your strike range. During this quiet period, you become acutely aware of the chronic pain that permeates your existence. Your malformed anatomy creates constant stress on your joints, muscles, and internal organs. The genetic modifications that created you were never properly integrated, resulting in a body that functions, but with significant inefficiencies and sources of ongoing discomfort. The pain is worst in your enlarged head, where the rapid growth of your skull has created pressure points and structural weaknesses. Your vision problems are partly due to this cranial malformation, as are the frequent headaches that plague your daily existence. The bulbous shape of your forehead, while giving you a distinctive appearance, serves no functional purpose and may actually interfere with proper brain development. Your 6 limbs, while providing advantages in terms of stability and climbing ability, create their own problems. The additional arms require extra energy to maintain and coordinate, while the modified shoulder structure needed to support them causes ongoing stress to your spine and rib cage. Movement that would be effortless for a natural predator requires constant attention and adjustment on your part. Despite these physical challenges, you've adapted remarkably well to your circumstances. Your hybrid intelligence has allowed you to develop hunting strategies and survival techniques that compensate for your physical limitations. You've learned to use your size and strength effectively while minimizing the movements that cause the most pain. As the afternoon progresses, you become aware of activity elsewhere on the island that requires your attention. The sounds of other large predators moving through the jungle reach your ears, carried by the humid air and the acoustic properties of the dense vegetation. These are likely other genetic experiments like yourself, each struggling with their own survival challenges in this strange ecosystem. Territorial concerns motivate you to leave the comfort of your cooling pool and investigate these disturbances. While you generally avoid confrontation with other large predators due to the risks involved, you cannot allow challenges to your dominance to go unanswered. Your territory provides essential resources, food, water, shelter, that you cannot afford to lose to competitors. Rising from the water requires considerable effort and care. Your waterlogged body has become even heavier, and the smooth rocks of the stream bed provide treacherous footing for your massive weight. You must use all 6 limbs to carefully extract yourself from the pool without slipping and injuring yourself on the rocky bottom. Once back on dry land, you take a moment to shake the excess water from your hide. The motion sends droplets flying in all directions and creates a brief rainbow in the slanting afternoon sunlight. Despite your monstrous nature, there are moments like this when you can appreciate the simple beauty of the world around you. Your investigation of the territorial intrusion takes you through some of the more challenging terrain on the island. The path leads up a steep hillside, covered with loose rocks and unstable vegetation. Your 6-limbed anatomy actually provides advantages here, as you can use your front arms to help pull yourself up the steep inclines, while your rear legs provide propulsion. The climb is exhausting and painful, as the unusual angles required put stress on joints that weren't designed for such movement. Your breathing becomes labored, and you're forced to stop frequently to rest and cool your overheating body. However, your territorial instincts drive you forward, despite the physical cost. Near the top of the hill, you discover the source of the disturbance. Another large predator has been marking trees and rocks with its scent, clearly attempting to establish a claim to part of your territory. The scent markers are recent, probably deposited within the last few hours, indicating that the intruder is still in the immediate area. Your response is swift and decisive. You systematically destroy every scent marker you can find, tearing bark from trees and overturning rocks with violent efficiency. Your own scent markers, deposited to replace those of the intruder, are much more potent and long-lasting, clearly establishing your claim to this area. The physical act of scent marking involves specialized glands that were modified during your creation. The chemicals you produce are more complex and persistent than those of natural predators, another product of the genetic experimentation that shaped your biology. These enhanced markers serve as powerful warnings to other creatures about your presence and territorial claims. Having re-established your territorial boundaries, you begin the search for the actual intruder. Your enhanced senses guide you through the jungle as you follow the scent trail left by the competing predator. The trail is relatively fresh and easy to follow, suggesting that the other creature is either very confident or not particularly intelligent about avoiding pursuit. The trail leads through dense jungle terrain toward one of the island's more remote areas. This region is further from the abandoned facility and has fewer resources, making it less desirable territory. The fact that another predator is attempting to claim your prime hunting grounds suggests either desperation or ignorance about the local power structure. As you track your quarry, you become increasingly aware that this is not just any competitor, but another genetic experiment similar to yourself. The scent carries the distinctive chemical signatures of genetic modification, and the size of the tracks suggests a creature of considerable bulk. This confrontation may prove more challenging than typical territorial disputes. Your eventual encounter with the intruder occurs in a small clearing where the other creature has apparently decided to make a stand rather than continue fleeing. The confrontation that follows is brief, but intense, as two products of failed genetic experiments face off against each other in a battle for survival and territory. The other creature is smaller than yourself, but appears more agile, lacking some of the obvious deformities that limit your movement. However, your size advantage and superior intelligence ultimately prove decisive. The conflict ends with your opponent retreating deeper into the jungle, presumably to seek territory elsewhere on the island. The victory, while satisfying from a territorial perspective, leaves you somewhat melancholy. Seeing another creature like yourself highlights the loneliness of your existence and the tragic nature of your creation. You are likely one of only a few such experiments that survived the initial years after the facility's abandonment, making each encounter with a fellow experiment both meaningful and poignant. The afternoon heat has reached its peak during your territorial patrol, and your body temperature has risen to dangerous levels. Finding adequate cooling becomes an urgent priority as overheating poses a serious threat to your health and survival. Your malformed physiology makes temperature regulation particularly challenging, especially during periods of physical exertion. Your return journey to the stream takes you through different terrain as you seek the most direct route to cooling water. The path leads through an area where the jungle canopy is particularly thick, providing welcome shade from the intense tropical sun. However, the reduced air circulation in these areas also traps heat and humidity, creating an environment that feels almost suffocating. Moving through the dense vegetation requires you to force your way through barriers of vines and undergrowth. Your massive bulk breaks through obstacles that would stop smaller creatures, but the effort required adds to your heat load and exhaustion. Each step becomes more labored as your body struggles to maintain safe operating temperatures. Relief comes when you finally reach a section of the stream where the water is deeper and the current stronger. The increased flow provides better cooling efficiency, and you waste no time in lowering your overheated body into the refreshing water. The contrast between your elevated body temperature and the cool stream creates an almost shocking sensation of relief. As you cool yourself in the water, you observe the late afternoon activity of the island's ecosystem. This is typically one of the busier periods of the day, as creatures that avoided the midday heat emerge to feed and socialize. From your position in the stream, you can see various birds returning to active feeding, while smaller mammals begin to venture out of their daytime hiding places. The sight of all this normal, natural life activity creates a complex emotional response in you. There's appreciation for the beauty and vitality of the ecosystem, but also a profound sense of isolation. You are part of this environment, but not truly of it, a genetic anomaly that exists outside the natural order of things. Your cooling session is interrupted by the arrival of another creature at the stream bank. Not prey this time, but another of the island's apex predators. This creature appears to be more successful than yourself in terms of genetic stability, showing fewer obvious deformities and moving with greater ease and confidence. The encounter is tense, but not immediately hostile. Both of you are large enough and dangerous enough that a direct confrontation would likely result in serious injuries for both parties. Instead, you engage in a careful assessment of each other's capabilities and intentions while maintaining a safe distance. The other predator eventually moves on without challenging your position at the stream, apparently deciding that the risks of confrontation outweigh any potential benefits. This mutual avoidance is typical of interactions between the island's large predators. Each has learned that survival depends on picking battles carefully and avoiding unnecessary conflicts. As evening approaches, you begin to feel the effects of your active day. The combination of hunting, territorial patrol, and heat stress has left you exhausted and ready for rest. However, your survival instincts require that you first secure a safe location for the night and ensure that adequate food supplies are available for the next day. Your evening routine begins with a return to your cached food supply to retrieve additional nutrition. The meat you stored earlier in the day has remained fresh in the cool, shaded environment of the cave, and you consume a substantial portion to restore your energy reserves. The feeding is less urgent than your morning hunt, allowing you to eat more slowly and enjoy the taste and texture of your meal. After feeding, you begin the process of selecting a suitable resting spot for the night. Your requirements are specific. The location must be defensible against potential attacks, provide adequate concealment from both prey and competitors, and offer some protection from the elements. Your size limits the available options, as few natural shelters can accommodate your massive bulk. The spot you eventually choose is a partially collapsed section of the old facility, where fallen beams and debris have created a cave-like structure. The opening is large enough for you to enter, but small enough to defend if necessary. The interior provides adequate space for you to lie down comfortably while remaining hidden from external observation. Preparing the resting site involves clearing away loose debris and arranging the larger pieces to create additional barriers and concealment. Your powerful limbs make quick work of this task, moving objects that would require machinery for humans to handle. The physical work helps settle your mind and prepare your body for the rest period ahead. As you settle into your chosen resting spot, the sounds of the jungle begin to change from the patterns of day to those of night. Diurnal creatures grow quiet while nocturnal species become active, creating a different but equally complex acoustic environment. These night sounds have become familiar and comforting to you over the years, a natural soundtrack for your rest periods. Your body's temperature regulation challenges continue into the evening hours, though the cooler night air helps somewhat. The massive thermal mass of your body retains heat for hours after sunset, requiring you to position yourself where any available breezes can provide cooling. Your malformed physiology makes you particularly vulnerable to heat-related stress, even during supposedly cooler periods, the physical pain that accompanies your existence becomes more noticeable as you settle into rest. Without the distractions of hunting and movement, your attention turns inward to the constant aching of your malformed joints and the pressure headaches caused by your enlarged skull. This pain is your most faithful companion, never leaving you completely even during your most peaceful moments. Sleep comes gradually and fitfully, as it always does for creatures like you. Your hybrid nervous system doesn't allow for the deep restorative sleep that natural animals enjoy. Instead, you experience a series of light dozing periods interrupted by frequent waking to assess your environment for potential threats or opportunities. Your dreams, when they come, are strange amalgamations of genetic memory and personal experience. You dream of running through forests on two legs, like your Tyrannosaur ancestors, but also of swimming through vast oceans like the marine reptiles whose genes were spliced into your DNA. Sometimes you dream of being smaller, more agile, free from the constant pain that defines your waking existence. The most disturbing dreams involve fragmented memories of your early life in the laboratory, bright lights, strange sounds, the presence of creatures in white coats who moved about you with instruments and tools. These memories are unclear and possibly false, products of your hybrid brain trying to make sense of experiences that occurred before your consciousness fully developed. During your periods of light sleep, your senses remain partially active, monitoring the environment for changes that might require your attention. The jungle night is full of activity, with various nocturnal hunters pursuing their own survival agendas. Occasionally, the sounds of conflict reach your ears, the brief, violent encounters that characterize predator-prey relationships in this isolated ecosystem. One such disturbance during the night catches your attention more than the others. The sounds suggest a confrontation between large creatures, possibly other genetic experiments like yourself. Your territorial instincts urge you to investigate, but your exhausted body counsels continued rest. The conflict seems to be occurring at some distance from your territory, reducing the immediate threat to your own interests. As the night progresses, you become aware of weather changes developing across the island. The humidity increases noticeably, and the air becomes still and oppressive in a way that suggests an approaching storm. Your hybrid senses, enhanced beyond those of natural creatures, allow you to detect atmospheric changes hours before they become obvious to normal animals. The approaching storm creates both opportunities and challenges for you. Heavy rain will drive many creatures to seek shelter, potentially concentrating prey in predictable locations. However, it will also make hunting more difficult and dangerous, while your large size makes you particularly vulnerable to lightning strikes in open areas. Your rest is further disturbed by the arrival of smaller scavengers attracted to the scent of your earlier meal. These creatures, various birds and small mammals, are careful to maintain a respectful distance from your resting place, but their presence creates additional sounds and movement that prevent you from achieving deeper sleep. The scavenger's presence is actually beneficial in some ways, as they serve as an early warning system for approaching threats. Their behavior patterns change noticeably when larger predators are in the area, giving you advance notice of potential dangers. This symbiotic relationship has developed over years of coexistence in the island's ecosystem. During one of your waking periods, you notice that the quality of light filtering through your shelter has changed. The stars and moon that were visible earlier are now obscured by increasing cloud cover, confirming your earlier assessment of approaching weather. The air pressure has dropped significantly, creating a sensation that your enlarged skull perceives as increased internal pressure. The approaching storm triggers ancient instincts inherited from your various genetic donors. Part of you wants to seek higher ground and deeper shelter, while another part feels compelled to remain in open areas where you can monitor developing threats. Your hybrid nature creates conflicting impulses that must be resolved through conscious decision-making rather than simple instinct. As dawn approaches, the first drops of rain begin to fall through the jungle canopy. The sound of water striking leaves creates a gentle percussion that gradually builds in intensity. The scent of petrichor, that distinctive smell of rain on earth, fills the humid air and awakens additional memories stored in your complex genetic heritage. Your body begins its slow transition from rest to activity as the new day approaches. Your massive limbs must be moved carefully at first, as the night's rest has allowed your chronic injuries to stiffen. Each joint must be gradually flexed and tested before you attempt to rise to full mobility. The process is painful but necessary, a daily ritual that prepares you for another day of survival. The rain intensifies as you emerge from your shelter, transforming the jungle environment into something dramatically different from the previous day. Water streams from every surface, creating temporary waterfalls and turning dry creek beds into rushing torrents. The normally dusty paths become muddy obstacles that challenge even your impressive strength and stability. Your first priority in the storm conditions is finding adequate shelter where you can wait out the worst of the weather. Your size makes this challenging, as few natural formations can accommodate your bulk while providing meaningful protection from the elements. The abandoned facility offers some options, but returning there requires navigating increasingly treacherous terrain. The journey back to the facility becomes an epic struggle against the forces of nature. Your 6 limbs provide excellent traction in the muddy conditions, but your massive weight causes you to sink deeply into the saturated soil. Each step requires enormous effort to extract your feet from the clinging mud, and your progress is frustratingly slow. Lightning begins to illuminate the storm clouds overhead, followed by the deep rumble of thunder that reverberates through the jungle. Your enlarged skull makes you particularly sensitive to these acoustic shocks, creating painful pressure waves that seem to penetrate directly into your brain. Each thunderclap forces you to pause and recover before continuing your difficult journey. The storm's intensity continues to build as you make your way through the jungle. Wind begins to whip through the trees, sending branches and debris flying through the air. Your poor eyesight makes it difficult to track these projectiles, forcing you to rely on your other senses to avoid being struck by falling objects. Despite the challenging conditions, you notice that the storm has driven many of the island's creatures into predictable shelter areas. This concentration of potential prey creates hunting opportunities that might not exist under normal circumstances. Your hybrid intelligence immediately begins calculating strategies for taking advantage of these changed conditions. However, your immediate survival needs take precedence over hunting considerations. The combination of wind, rain, and lightning creates genuine dangers, even for a creature of your size and strength. Lightning strikes are particularly concerning, as your elevated profile and the metallic components of your hybrid physiology make you an attractive target for electrical discharge. Your eventual arrival at the facility comes as an enormous relief. The solid walls and partially intact roof provide meaningful protection from the storm's fury, while the familiar environment allows you to relax somewhat from your hypervigilant state. You settle into one of the larger laboratory spaces where you can monitor conditions while remaining relatively safe. From your position within the facility, you can observe the storm's impact on the surrounding jungle. The rain has become a true tropical deluge, with water falling in sheets that reduce visibility to just a few yards. The sound is overwhelming, a constant roar that drowns out most other environmental cues you normally rely on for information about your surroundings. The storm's duration proves to be several hours, during which you remain in the shelter of the facility. This enforced inactivity gives you time to contemplate aspects of your existence that are normally overshadowed by immediate survival concerns. The philosophical weight of your unnatural creation presses down on you like the atmospheric pressure of the storm itself. You find yourself wondering about the scientists who created you and others like you. What were their intentions? Did they understand the suffering they were creating? Or were they so focused on their research goals that they ignored the ethical implications of their work? These questions have no answers, but they occupy your enhanced intellect during the long hours of waiting. The storm also provides time to assess your physical condition more thoroughly than usual. The chronic pain that accompanies your malformed anatomy seems worse during periods of low atmospheric pressure, and you can feel the stress that the weather places on your already compromised physiology. Your enlarged joints ache with a deep, throbbing pain that penetrates to the bone. As the storm gradually subsides, you begin to hear the normal sounds of the jungle re-emerging from beneath the noise of wind and rain. Birds tentatively resume their calls, while the movement of smaller creatures becomes audible again. The acoustic environment slowly transitions back toward familiar patterns, though everything remains muted by the continued precipitation. When the rain finally stops completely, you emerge from the facility to survey a dramatically transformed landscape. The storm has reshaped portions of the jungle, bringing down large trees and creating new clearings where none existed before. Streams that were merely trickles yesterday have become raging torrents, while previously dry areas are now flooded with standing water. Your first post-storm activity is to check on your cached food supply to ensure it hasn't been damaged or washed away by the flooding. The journey to your storage cave reveals that much of the landscape has been altered by the storm's passage. Familiar landmarks are gone, while new obstacles have appeared in the form of fallen trees and debris fields. The cave where you stored your food has remained secure, though water has penetrated the entrance and created muddy conditions inside. Your cached meat appears to be undamaged, providing some security for your immediate nutritional needs. However, the flooding has likely disrupted the normal patterns of prey animals, requiring you to adapt your hunting strategies accordingly. The post-storm environment offers both challenges and opportunities for a predator of your capabilities. Many smaller creatures have been displaced from their normal habitats and are seeking new shelter and food sources. This displacement makes them more vulnerable to predation, but it also makes their behavior less predictable than usual. Your exploration of the storm-altered landscape takes you through areas that are now dramatically different from their pre-storm configuration. Where once there were clear paths, you now find barriers of fallen trees and accumulated debris. Navigation requires constant problem solving as you work around these new obstacles. The flooding has created numerous temporary ponds and streams that will persist until the excess water either evaporates or finds its way to the ocean. These new water sources will attract various creatures seeking to drink, potentially creating new hunting opportunities in locations where prey was previously uncommon. As you move through the changed environment, you encounter other large predators who are also assessing the storm's impact on their territories. These encounters are generally peaceful, as everyone seems focused on understanding the new landscape rather than engaging in territorial disputes. The shared experience of surviving the storm creates a temporary sense of community among the island's apex predators. Your afternoon is spent systematically exploring your territory to catalogue the changes and identify new opportunities or threats. This process requires considerable physical effort, as navigating the storm-damaged terrain is much more challenging than normal movement. Your 6 limbs provide advantages in climbing over fallen trees and traversing unstable surfaces, but the effort required is exhausting. One significant discovery during your territorial survey is a new clearing created when several large trees were brought down by the storm winds. This opening in the canopy will likely attract different types of vegetation and wildlife than the previous forest environment, potentially creating new hunting grounds in the future. Another change is the formation of several new water channels where storm runoff has carved new paths through the landscape. These channels connect previously separate water systems, potentially altering the movement patterns of various creatures throughout the region. Understanding these changes will be crucial for maintaining your hunting success. The storm has also exposed some previously hidden features of the landscape, including what appears to be additional ruins from the original facility. These structures had been completely overgrown by vegetation, but the storm's violence has stripped away much of the concealing plant growth. Investigating these newly revealed areas becomes a priority for future exploration. As evening approaches, you realize that your normal resting spot has been compromised by storm damage. A large tree has fallen across the entrance to your usual shelter, making it inaccessible to a creature of your size. Finding a new location for the night becomes an urgent priority as darkness begins to fall. Your search for alternative shelter takes you to areas of your territory that you don't normally visit. These regions offer different challenges and opportunities, requiring you to rapidly assess their suitability for overnight occupation. Your enhanced intelligence allows you to quickly evaluate factors like defensibility, concealment, and escape routes. The shelter you eventually select is a natural cave formation that was revealed when the storm washed away accumulated soil and debris. The cave is larger than your usual resting spot and offers better protection from the elements, though it's located further from your primary hunting grounds. This trade-off between comfort and convenience requires careful consideration. Preparing the new shelter involves clearing away loose rocks and debris that could become uncomfortable or dangerous during rest periods. Your powerful limbs make quick work of this task, and you're able to create a reasonably comfortable resting area before full darkness falls. The cave's acoustics are different from your usual shelter, requiring some adjustment to interpret the sounds of the night jungle. As you settle into your new resting place, you reflect on the day's experiences and the changes they represent. The storm has altered your environment in ways that will require adaptation and learning over the coming days and weeks. Your hybrid intelligence gives you advantages in dealing with such changes, but the physical and emotional stress of constant adaptation adds to your already substantial burden. The night sounds in your new location are subtly different from those you're accustomed to, requiring increased vigilance until you learn which sounds represent normal activity and which might indicate potential threats. Your enhanced senses work overtime to process these new acoustic patterns and integrate them into your understanding of the local environment. Sleep comes more easily than usual, perhaps due to the exhaustion from navigating the storm-damaged landscape throughout the day. Your dreams are filled with images of rushing water and falling trees, mixed with the ever-present fragments of genetic memory that characterize your hybrid consciousness. The sound of water still dripping from saturated vegetation provides a gentle rhythm that helps ease you into deeper rest. During the night, you're awakened several times by unfamiliar sounds that prove to be harmless activities of nocturnal creatures exploring the storm-changed environment. These false alarms are frustrating but necessary, as your survival depends on maintaining awareness of potential threats, even during rest periods. The morning after the storm dawns clear and bright, with crystalline air that seems to amplify every sound and scent in the jungle. The high humidity creates an almost magical quality to the early light, with mist rising from the saturated ground and creating shifting patterns of visibility throughout the forest. This atmospheric beauty provides a stark contrast to your own harsh existence. Your emergence from the new shelter reveals the full extent of the storm's impact on the surrounding area. The landscape looks almost alien compared to your familiar territory, with new vistas created by fallen trees and altered drainage patterns. Adapting to these changes will require time and effort, but also presents opportunities for expansion and new hunting strategies. Your first priority is assessing the condition of your primary water sources to ensure they remain safe and accessible. The storm has significantly altered the stream system, with some areas now flowing much faster and deeper than before, while others have been reduced to stagnant pools. Understanding these changes is crucial for your daily survival routines. The increased water flow in the mainstream has created several new pools deep enough for cooling your overheated body, potentially improving your ability to cope with the tropical heat. However, the faster current also makes these water sources more dangerous to approach, requiring greater caution during your daily cooling sessions. Your morning hunt takes you through areas that were previously inaccessible due to dense vegetation, but which are now opened up by the storm's destruction. These new hunting grounds contain different types of prey than your familiar territories, requiring you to observe and learn new behavioral patterns before developing effective hunting strategies. The abundance of displaced creatures in the storm's aftermath creates excellent hunting opportunities, but also increases competition with other predators who are taking advantage of the same conditions. Managing these competitive relationships becomes more complex when normal territorial boundaries have been disrupted by environmental changes. Your first successful hunt of the post-storm period involves a creature that has been displaced from its normal habitat and is struggling to adapt to unfamiliar surroundings. The kill is easier than usual due to the prey's disorientation, but you feel a slight sense of guilt at taking advantage of another creature's vulnerability in this way. The meal provides needed nutrition, but also serves as a reminder of the harsh realities that govern life in this ecosystem. Survival often depends on exploiting the weaknesses and misfortunes of others, a lesson that applies as much to failed genetic experiments like yourself as to natural creatures. The ethical complexity of these situations is beyond your full understanding, but you sense the moral weight nonetheless. As you consume your prey, you're joined by the usual collection of scavengers seeking to benefit from your hunting success. These relationships have been disrupted by the storm just as much as everything else, and you notice some species that don't normally venture into this area. The ecological disruption created by the storm will likely have effects that persist for months or years. Your afternoon exploration focuses on the newly revealed facility ruins that were exposed by the storm. These structures appear to be older than the main complex you're familiar with, possibly representing an earlier phase of the research that created you. Investigating these ruins might provide insights into your origins, though it's unclear whether such knowledge would be beneficial or traumatic. The approach to the newly exposed ruins requires navigating terrain that has been completely reshaped by the storm. Fallen trees and debris fields create obstacles that challenge even your considerable strength and agility. The journey itself becomes an exercise in problem-solving and physical endurance. The ruins, when you finally reach them, prove to be fascinating but disturbing. The architecture is similar to the main facility, but incorporates design elements that suggest different research priorities. Some of the equipment visible through broken walls appears to be related to genetic manipulation, but of types you don't recognize from the main laboratory complex. One particularly intriguing discovery is a series of containment chambers that appear to have been designed for creatures much larger than yourself. The implications of this finding are troubling, suggesting that the experiments that created you were part of a much larger and more ambitious program than you had previously understood. Your exploration of the ruins is cut short by the arrival of another large predator investigating the same newly exposed structures. The encounter is tense, but not immediately hostile, as both of you seem more interested in understanding the ruins than in establishing territorial claims. This shared curiosity creates an unusual moment of peaceful coexistence between potential competitors. The other predator's reaction to the ruins suggests that it too recognizes their significance, possibly as remnants of the research program that created all of the island's genetic experiments. This shared recognition creates a brief sense of kinship between you, a rare moment of connection with another creature that shares your unique and tragic origin. As evening approaches, you begin the journey back to your new shelter, carrying with you the disturbing knowledge gained from exploring the ancient ruins. The discovery that your creation was part of an even larger program of genetic experimentation adds new layers of complexity to your understanding of your own existence and purpose. The return journey takes you through more storm-damaged terrain, requiring constant navigation around new obstacles and hazards. Your 6 limbs continue to provide advantages in this challenging environment, but the constant physical stress of moving through disrupted landscape takes its toll on your already compromised physiology. Your evening routine has been modified by the necessity of using the new shelter, requiring adjustments to your normal patterns of preparation and security assessment. The cave's larger size provides more space, but also creates new defensive challenges, as multiple approaches must be monitored for potential threats. As you settle into your second night in the new shelter, you reflect on the profound changes that a single storm has brought to your world. The physical alterations to the landscape are dramatic enough, but the psychological impact of discovering the additional ruins may prove even more significant in the long term. Your dreams that night are haunted by images of the ancient laboratories and the implications of their existence. You dream of creatures even more dramatically altered than yourself, products of experiments that push the boundaries of genetic manipulation beyond all reasonable limits. These dream images may be pure imagination, or they may represent suppressed memories of your earliest days of consciousness. The morning of your third post-storm day begins with the realization that your world has been permanently changed in ways that extend far beyond simple landscape alteration. The knowledge gained from the ruins has fundamentally altered your understanding of your own place in the island's history and ecosystem. Your emergence from the shelter reveals that the jungle is already beginning to adapt to the storm's changes. New growth is appearing in areas opened up by fallen trees, while creatures are establishing new movement patterns that accommodate the altered terrain. The resilience of natural systems provides a stark contrast to your own struggle to adapt to change. The day's activities focus on consolidating your understanding of the post-storm environment and establishing new routines that account for the altered landscape. This process requires both physical exploration and mental adaptation, challenging your hybrid intelligence to integrate new information with existing survival strategies. Your hunting success continues to benefit from the abundance of displaced prey, but you notice that other predators are also adapting to the new conditions. Competition for the best hunting grounds is intensifying as everyone works to establish new territorial arrangements in the changed environment. One significant development is the emergence of pack hunting behavior among some of the smaller predators, apparently a response to the increased competition for resources. These packs present new challenges for a solitary hunter like yourself, as they can potentially overwhelm even a creature of your size through coordinated attacks. Your response to this threat involves identifying and eliminating the pack leaders before their groups can become established. This proactive approach requires more aggressive hunting than you normally employ, but the alternative of allowing organized threats to develop could prove fatal to your long-term survival. The elimination of several pack leaders during the day's hunting serves notice to other potential organizers that such behavior will not be tolerated in your territory. However, it also increases the general level of tension and violence in the post-storm environment, potentially destabilizing the entire local ecosystem. As afternoon turns to evening, you recognize that the storm's effects have created a new equilibrium on the island that will require ongoing adaptation and vigilance. The comfortable routines of your previous existence have been permanently disrupted, replaced by a more challenging and uncertain reality. Your evening cooling session takes place in one of the new pools created by the storm's alteration of the stream system. The water is deeper and cooler than your previous bathing spots, providing better relief from the day's heat accumulation. However, the stronger current also makes entering and exiting the pool more dangerous, requiring greater care and attention. As you soak in the cooling water, you observe the continuing adaptation of the jungle's ecosystem to its altered state. New patterns of animal movement are becoming established, while different plant species begin to colonize areas that were previously unsuitable for their growth. The speed of these changes is remarkable and serves as a reminder of nature's resilience and adaptability. Your third night in the new shelter passes more peacefully than the previous evenings, as you become accustomed to the different acoustic environment and security considerations. The larger space allows for more comfortable positioning during rest, though the increased size also means more area to monitor for potential intrusion. Your dreams continue to be influenced by the discoveries made in the ancient ruins, but they're beginning to integrate this new information rather than simply replaying traumatic images. Your subconscious mind is working to incorporate the expanded understanding of your origins into a coherent worldview that can guide future decisions and actions. The following days establish a new routine adapted to the post-storm environment, as you gradually learn to navigate the altered landscape and take advantage of new opportunities while avoiding fresh dangers. The process of adaptation becomes a source of satisfaction, demonstrating the resilience that has allowed you to survive as long as you have in this hostile world. Your success in adapting to the storm's changes reinforces your understanding that survival depends not just on physical strength, but on the ability to learn, adapt, and make intelligent decisions in response to changing circumstances. This realization provides some comfort, despite the ongoing challenges and uncertainties of your existence. As days turn into weeks, the post-storm environment stabilizes into new patterns that become as familiar as the old ones were. The jungle's remarkable ability to heal and adapt serves as inspiration for your own ongoing efforts to find meaning and purpose in an existence that was never supposed to happen. The knowledge that you are part of a larger story of genetic experimentation, while disturbing, also provides context that helps explain your unique capabilities and challenges. Understanding your place in this broader narrative doesn't eliminate the pain and difficulty of your existence, but it does provide a framework for understanding why you are what you are. Your evening rest in the comfortable new shelter is accompanied by the familiar sounds of the jungle night, now arranged in new patterns created by the storm's lasting changes. These sounds have become a lullaby that eases you into the light sleep that is all your hybrid physiology allows, carrying you peacefully toward whatever challenges and discoveries tomorrow might bring. As consciousness fades into the gentle rhythm of natural sleep, you carry with you the hard-won wisdom that survival requires constant adaptation, that even the most dramatic changes can be accommodated with intelligence and perseverance, and that there is beauty and meaning to be found even in an existence born from humanity's greatest genetic mistakes. The soft sounds of the tropical night embrace you like a warm blanket, while the distant calls of other creatures remind you that you are part of something larger than yourself, an ecosystem that has found ways to accommodate even the most unlikely and unnatural residents. In this moment of peaceful rest, the pain and isolation of your existence fade into the background, replaced by a sense of belonging to the eternal rhythms of life on this forgotten island where genetics and nature have learned to coexist. Sweet dreams come slowly to your enhanced consciousness, carrying you gently through the dark hours until dawn brings another day of survival, adaptation, and the endless quest to find meaning in a life that was never meant to be, but which has somehow found its own unique and valuable place in the complex web of existence on this island where the impossible became real.